Part 156. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1551. Su Tianqian looked at the big stone and replied, "It is rumored that this big stone can heal injuries. Treat the injury." Su Tianqian nodded and continued, "This stone is the remains of the Holy Mother Turtle Spirit. Some injured animals will come to the stone and rub it, and their injuries will be healed. However, this is just a legend. I don't know whether it is true or false. The Holy Mother of Turtle Spirit is one of the 5 Holy Mothers of the Ji religion, but she was not canonized as a god. Her ending was also extremely tragic. She died after her flesh and blood were sucked dry by a swarm of mosquitoes. After her death, her soul reincarnated. In addition to Our Lady of Turtle Spirit, the other 4 Holy Mothers are Our Lady of Golden Spirit, Our Lady of Fire Spirit, Our Lady of Wudang and Our Lady of Golden Light. Let's focus here on Our Lady of Golden Spirit. Our Lady of Jinling is the first of the 5 Holy Mothers of Jijiao and the first of the female immortals. She has 9 sons in total. 2 of these 9 sons are emperors of heaven, namely the Gushan Shanggong Emperor and the Zhongtianzaiwei Beiji Emperor. In other words, I was born of the Holy Mother of the Golden Spirit, but this is a bit of a fantasy. Although I am Emperor Zaiwei, I always know in my heart that I am Lu Su. The remaining 7 are the Big Dipper, Tan Lang, Jimin, Lucan, Wenku, Lianzhen, Wuoku, and Pa Jun. I looked at this huge dark stone and subconsciously touched it. When my hand just touched the stone, a voice sounded in my mind. "You finally came." I was slightly startled and looked at the stone warily. Who is speaking? The remnant soul of the Turtle Spirit Mother? I waited for a long time, but the voice didn't appear again. Su Tianqian looked at me in confusion and asked, "Xiao Su, what's wrong?" I told Su Tianqian the voice that just sounded in my mind. After hearing this, Su Tianqian pondered for a moment and replied, "This stone is the remains of the Holy Mother Turtle Spirit. It is possible that the consciousness of the Holy Mother Turtle Spirit remains, so you don't need to panic." I nodded. Su Tianqian continued, "Let's go, I will take you to that village." With that said, Su Tianqian took my hand and walked towards the crops next to the Yugzi ruins. There are farmers working in the crop fields. Su Tianqian came to the field and said to the old farmer, "Old man, we want to go to Yugzi village. Can you take us in?" The old farmer was slightly startled when he heard Su Tianxian's words. He put down the hoe in his hand and looked Su Tianqian up and down. You are Master Tianqian." Su Tianqian nodded slightly. The old farmer hurriedly came to Su Tianqian and said in surprise, "My God, Master Tianqian, why are you here?" Su Tianqian replied, "I have something to go to Tishan." Su Tianqian had been here before, and this old farmer must have met Su Tianqian at that time. As Su Tianqian, he is respected everywhere he goes. The old farmer nodded repeatedly and said, "I will take you there right now. Only people from the same village can enter and exit Yugzi village. It's not that this village is weird or mysterious, but the road to Yugzi village is very complicated. Even if Su Tianqian comes once, he still can't find the way in accurately. Someone must lead him, otherwise he will definitely get lost in the woods." The old farmer arrived with a carriage. Su Tianqian and I got on the carriage and sat on it, while the old farmer drove the carriage toward the mountains and forests. On the way, the old farmer said, "Master Tianqian, why are you going to Tishan? Is it possible that you are also going to celebrate the birthday of Tishan Demon Emperor?" Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1552. Yugzi village is located at the foot of Tishan Mountain. The folk customs here are simple and the people live and work in peace and contentment. They didn't know if there were any fox demons on Tishan Mountain. They only knew that it would be the Tishan Demon Emperor's birthday in a few days, and their village would also hold a birthday banquet. The purpose is to commit suicide for the Tishan Demon King. This can be regarded as a kind of folk belief, just like people offering sacrifices to the Lord of the Earth. Su Tianqian nodded and replied, "It can be considered a birthday celebration." The old farmer nodded and didn't say anything. I suddenly thought of something and asked, "Have no outsiders come to your village frequently recently?" The old farmer nodded and replied, "Every year on the birthday of Tishan Demon King, many people from other villages come. The older generation in the village say they are from the immortal family, who traveled thousands of miles to Tishan to celebrate the Demon Emperor's birthday. Tishan Demon Emperor is equivalent to an emperor in the human world. The Emperor of the world still needs all the nations to come to celebrate his birthday. It is normal for the immortal family to come." Soon, we arrived at Yugza village. Yugza village is located at the foot of Tishan mountain. It has beautiful scenery, fresh air, neat houses, and no traffic, just like a paradise. It's hard to imagine that such an isolated village exists in this world. The entire village has no electricity, no modern atmosphere, and the villagers dress very simply. The villagers in Yugza village warmly welcomed us when the old farmer brought us into the village. It can be seen from this that the villagers in this village are really hospitable. The old farmer took us to the home of the head of Yugza village. The village chief of Yugza village is about 80 years old, has a white beard and white hair, and wears a cane. He seems to have a kind face and kind eyes, and a fairy-like spirit. "Master Tianqian, you are here." The head of Yugza village quickly came to Su Tianqian and shouted very respectfully. Su Tianqian nodded slightly and replied, "Come here to deal with some things." The head of Yugza village quickly invited Su Tianqian and me into the room, and then ordered his family to bring some fruits and pastries. "Master Tianqian, these are fruits grown in our own village. Please try them." Su Tianqian picked up an apple and took a bite of it, which was regarded as giving face to the head of Yugza village. "Master Tianqian, what do you want to deal with when you come to our village?" Su Tianqian didn't talk nonsense and said clearly, "I'm going to Tishan to find the Demon Emperor to find something." The head of Yugza village nodded and replied, "In that case, how many days will Master Xian live in the village that day? I will inform Tishan." In the entire Yugza village, only the village chief knew the truth about Tishan. Others knew nothing about Tishan. In this way, Su Tianqian and I settled down in Yugza village. In the evening, the head of Yugza village prepared a large table of dishes for Su Tianqian and me. When the people in the village heard that Master Tianqian was coming, they quickly came to visit him. They were grateful to Su Tianqian. I asked with some confusion, "Tianqian, what did you do to make these villagers thank you so much?" Su Tianqian replied calmly, "Actually, it's nothing. Tishan's luck is closely connected with this village. Something happened to Empress Tishan before, which caused the village's luck to be damaged and the banker lost money. I helped Empress Tishan, the village will naturally get better." I was suddenly filled with curiosity and asked, "Tianqian, what happened to Empress Tishan?" You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanba. Chapter 1553. Su Tianqian replied, "Emperor Tishan will be baptized by the Tishan empresses of all generations before she ascends the throne. Only after being baptized can she become the real Empress Tishan. However, after baptism, Empress Tishan will lose her emotions and become an emotionless being. Her duty is only to protect Tishan. Losing all 7 emotions and 6 desires, isn't this a bit too cruel? People are called people because they have feelings. The same is true for demons. Without emotions, they are just empty shells." Su Tianqian continued, "During the process of ascending to the throne, Empress Tishan had an accident, which resulted in her failure to receive baptism and was seriously injured. I guess that Empress Tishan was nostalgic for the past and was unwilling to give up her feelings. If it were me, I wouldn't want to be an emotionless puppet. Living in this world with flesh and blood is wonderful. Then Titian found me and asked me to help. It dawned on me. Not all Titian fox demons can become empresses. After the death of the previous empress, the position of empress will be vacant for hundreds or thousands of years. Only those entrusted by God can become empress. I changed the subject and asked, Tianqian, you said that we are going to ask for Sudaji's 3 tails this time. Can Titian give them to them? I don't know, give it a try. Su Tianqian said lightly. Su Tianqian and I didn't dwell too much on this matter. At night, Su Tianqian and I still hugged each other and fell asleep. Around 3 o'clock in the morning, I suddenly felt that the temperature in the room dropped sharply and became extremely cold. I woke up instantly and sat up suddenly. Su Tianqian was woken up by me, and she also felt the changes in the room. At this moment, there was a sudden knock on the window next to the bed. Dong dong dong. My face froze and I looked towards the window. The moonlight was gathering outside the window, and a dark shadow stood quietly by the window. This figure is very familiar to me, it is the female ghost with braids. I frowned, this female ghost is really haunting. I stood up and walked out of the hospital, Su Tianqian followed behind me. When I came to the courtyard, I saw the female ghost with braids standing in front of the window. I slowly picked up the magic formula, hoping to kill this kind of female ghost to avoid future trouble. The braided female ghost made an astonishing move when she saw me. She fell to her knees in front of me with a plop. This scene made me slightly startled. I saw the braided female ghost shouting at me, Master, please save Titian. Save Titian? I looked at the braided female ghost in confusion. What do you mean? I asked. The braided female ghost said, all the immortal families plan to attack Titian on the Demon Emperor's birthday and completely eliminate Titian. I frowned. Various immortal families wanted to take action against Titian. This thing sounded very unbelievable. Titian has been passed down for thousands of years and its heritage is extremely rich. Xianjiao from all walks of life took action against Titian. No matter how you heard this matter, there was no problem. Seeing that I didn't believe it, the braided female ghost quickly said, Master, I know you don't believe it, but this thing is true. I am from this village. I met a Titian fox demon by chance when I was a child. I have a very good relationship with her. Just a few days ago, the fox demon suddenly found me and said that she was being hunted. Twist Braid slowly narrated what happened. After listening to it, I already had a rough idea in my mind. The reason why various immortal families took action against Titian was entirely due to internal factors in Titian. Someone wanted to usurp the throne. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1554. The system within Titian is equivalent to the feudal system in the world. There are emperors, princes, princesses, and princes from all over the world. However, the princes in Titian were only collateral lines of Titian. The fox demon that the braided female ghost knew was the servant of Empress Titian. The fox demon accidentally heard that the eldest prince Titian wanted to usurp the throne. The fox demon originally wanted to tell Empress Titian about this, but the eldest prince Titian sent people to hunt him down. In desperation, the fox demon left Titian, found the braided female ghost and told the braided female ghost everything. He also told the braided female ghost to tell the fox demon in Titian about this matter. After that, the fox demon was killed by the fox demon sent by the eldest prince. The female ghost with braids was also exposed. She fled the village and wanted to hide outside for a few days. She would tell the fox demons in Titian about the incident when she waited for the demon emperor's birthday. Later, the braided female ghost got on the train, but was discovered by Huang Xian on the train. Huang Xian used a spell to control the braided female ghost to jump out of a car and die, and her soul was also controlled by Huang Xian. The pursuit of Su Tianqian and me was entirely caused by that Huang Xian. When the braided girl said this, I became confused and asked, since you were controlled by Huang Xian, why have you regained your sanity now? The braided female ghost explained, it was because of the big stone at the entrance of the village. The yellow fairy took me into the village. When I passed the big stone, I regained my consciousness and took the opportunity to run out. Master, I know you are very powerful, and now only you can save Tishan. I looked at Su Tianqian and asked, Tianqian, what do you think about this matter? Su Tianqian replied, she doesn't seem to be lying. If what she said is true, then we really have to help, because if we help, Tishan will be grateful to you and me, and then he will be asking for his tail. It's much easier. What Su Tianqian said makes sense. As long as we help Tishan quell the rebellion, Tishan will definitely be grateful, and asking for his tail will not be a problem at all. I pondered for a moment and asked to the braided female ghost, does the yellow fairy know that you have left? The braided female ghost shook her head and replied, I don't know yet, he thought I was being controlled by him. Okay, I understand. In this case, you stay with Huang Xian and inform me as soon as possible if anything happens. Don't worry about Tishan's matter, I will help solve it. The braided female ghost nodded and disappeared into the darkness. Later, Su Tianqian and I returned to the room. I looked at Su Tianqian and asked, Tianqian, what do you think will happen if we tell the Demon King directly about this matter? No. Tishan Wushang shook her head and said, the Demon Emperor Tishan will not believe it. As far as I know, the eldest Prince Tishan is not the son of the Demon Emperor, but the son of the Demon Emperor's brother. After the Demon Emperor's brother died, he entrusted his son to the current Demon Emperor. Although he is not his biological son, the Demon Emperor loves this eldest prince so much. You and I are just outsiders. Even if we tell them, they won't believe it. That's right. You and I are just outsiders. I wouldn't believe it. Su Tianqian lowered his head and pondered for a moment, then said, let's do this. You and I will go meet the Tishan Empress tomorrow and then reveal this matter to her. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1555. After hearing this, I asked suspiciously, Tianqian, is Empress Tishan easy to talk to? Yes. Su Tianqian nodded and replied, it's easy to talk to. Although she looks cold, she is actually simple and kind-hearted, and her personality is somewhat playful and cute. Okay, if that's the case, let's go see her tomorrow. After the discussion was completed, Su Tianqian and I lay on the bed and quickly fell asleep. The next morning, the head of Yugzi village made breakfast early and asked Su Tianqian and me to eat it. While eating, the head of Yugzi village said, Master Tianqian, I have notified Tishan that a fox demon will take you into the mountain tonight. Su Tianqian hummed and said nothing more. After eating, Su Tianqian and I wandered around Yugzi village. The villagers in Yugzi village were really hospitable. When they saw me, Su Tianqian and I insisted on taking us to their homes as guests. The hospitality was so great that Su Tianqian and I could only visit from door to door. At noon, Su Tianqian and I walked out of a house, and suddenly I saw a familiar figure out of the corner of my eye. It's Zhao Mian. Zhao Mian has been following me and Su Tianqian, but he will not show up easily. Once he shows up, he will tell him something important. I lied to Su Tianqian and said I wanted to go to the toilet, and Su Tianqian nodded in agreement. I found Zhao Mian and asked, what's wrong? Zhao Mian said to me in a serious tone, I can't accompany you on the Tishan trip. I have some things to deal with. What's the matter? Zhao Mian replied, I know the purpose of the gods coming down to earth. Their purpose is Zhangzia's memory, the whip, and the list of gods. I frowned and asked, God whip and God list? Yes, the divine whip and the list of gods are both in Zhangzia's memory. The gods have discovered that place. I have to stop them from approaching. The whip is shaped like a wooden whip. This whip is 3 feet 6 inches long and has 21 sections. Each section has 4 talismans, for a total of 84 talismans. Let's put it this way, the divine whip is the nemesis of the gods, and Zhangxia is the leader of the gods. Folk legend says that when Zhang Taigong was here, the gods abdicated. As long as he is a god, he will voluntarily abdicate when facing Zhangxia, and no one dares to challenge him. And the god-beating whip is designed to beat the gods. Zhao Mian continued, the divine whip and the list of gods must not fall into the hands of the gods. Once these two things fall into the hands of the gods, all your and my plans will fail. The conferred gods list is the key. Those gods who want to break away from the tombs of the gods must use the conferred gods list. If they erase the names on the conferred gods list, then nothing can restrict them. I also knew the seriousness of the matter, so I asked, do you want me to go with you? Zhao Mian shook his head and replied, no, I can go alone. I can completely hold them back. What you have to do is to complete what Sudaji told you. Only you and Sudaji can enter that place in this world. I am going here to delay time for you, so that you will not be in danger if you go to that place in the future. I can understand what Zhao Mian said. The reason why he left was to restrict the gods and clear obstacles for me. If I go to that place, I will definitely be besieged by the gods. Then it will be difficult for me to obtain the god list and defeat the gods. Whip. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1556. Zhao Mian continued, the reason why you get these two magic weapons is because the god-beating whip and the conferred gods list complement each other. The conferred gods list is used to confer gods and establish their positions. All people from all walks of life who have made meritorious services have the opportunity to become gods. But even if you are a god, you can't act recklessly, so you need certain restrictions. The god-beating whip restricts the scepters of the gods on the gods list. The gods list and the god-beating whip together form a closed-loop system. As long as the gods named on the list can be restrained by the divine whip. The power of the magic whip can be great or small. Only when it hits the right person can its full strength be exerted. For example, Gao Yuqian, one of the 4 sage generals of Lingxiao Palace, died from the divine whip, and Master Wen was also beaten violently by the divine whip. The divine whip and the list of gods are a threat to the gods. Of course, they are also a great weapon for us. If we want to destroy the gods, we can only use the divine whip. After listening to Zhao Mian's words, I nodded and said, okay, I understand. I will go to that place with Daji as soon as possible. If you encounter something that cannot be solved, contact me immediately and I will help you. Zhao Mian took a look, with a little disdain in his eyes, and said, help me? It's good if you don't cause trouble for me. I was underestimated by my own evil soul. However, what Zhao Mian said is not bad. I have never seen Zhao Mian's true strength, but he can overwhelm everyone every time he takes action. Last time in Penglai Immortal Way, if Zhao Mian wanted to use all his strength, Yan Long's soul would probably be wiped out on the spot. And now I also want to understand the reason why Emperor Jinwu said that I can't die yet. The gods want to obtain the divine whip and the list of gods. These two sacred objects are in the place where Zhangxia's memory is, and only I can enter that place. If they want to get the divine whip and the list of gods, they must let me live. Okay, that's all I have to say. Before I leave, let me remind you that the trip to Tishan is not as simple as you think. The 72 wild immortals and the heretics in the Feng Shui world have joined forces. Together, their purpose is to destroy Tishan and help the eldest prince Tishan seize power. Of course, if I were you, I would take advantage of the chaos to take away the 3 tails of the fox, But you can't, you won't do this, you will definitely choose to help Tishan quell the rebellion, and let Tishan owe you a favor, and then you will begging for a tale. What Zhao Mian said is in line with his style. He is a leak-picking king. Okay, I get it. Zhao Mian waved his hand at me and left. The 72 wild immortals are Buplurum, Yellow Willow and Green, Gray and White Mao Dog Spirit, Sun May Scale and Fuming, Butterfly and Bazy Stinging Ye, June, Wolf, Snake, Fox and Yellow Tree. In short, all spirits that have been cultivated into spirits can be called wild immortals. It seems that the threat Tishan faces this time is greater than I imagined. I returned to the village chief's house, and Su Tianqian was sitting quietly on a stone chair in the courtyard, basking in the sun. The warm sunshine seemed to form a hazy veil around her body. Looking at it, it seemed real and illusory, but it was not like a human being in this world. Came back. Su Tianqian said lightly. I nodded and said, I'm back. Su Tianqian didn't ask me what I was going to do, but just said to me, wait a minute, Tishan will send someone to pick us up in the evening, and then we will go directly to see the Empress of Tishan. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1557. In the evening, Su Tianqian and I sat on a stone chair in the courtyard of the village chief's house. Su Tianqian nestled on my chest and watched the sunset with me. Xiao Su. Su Tianqian suddenly called softly. What's wrong? Su Tianqian raised his head and looked at me and asked, do you still remember the agreement between you and me? I replied, of course you remember, I promised you that I would take you around the world. Su Tianqian smiled slightly, her smile was like a flower, and she said, it seems you haven't forgotten it yet. How could I have forgotten something so important? However, I'm afraid I won't be able to fulfill this agreement. Unless I have solved everything, my 5 senses and limbs have not disappeared. Su Tianqian continued to ask, then you haven't made any specific plans? For example, where to go first and where to go next? I smiled and said, no, but these are not important. As long as I can be with you, I can go anywhere, at home and abroad, we can go. Su Tianqian lowered his eyes and said softly, that's right, with you, it doesn't matter where we go. I looked at Su Tianqian and asked, Tianqian, why do I always feel that you are acting weird lately? Strange? Where is the strangeness? I reached out and brushed her hair, picking out a bunch of silver strands in the black hair. Your hair is gray. Really? Why didn't I notice it? It's probably because I'm old and my hair has turned gray early. I stretched out my hand and gently scratched Su Tianxian's nose and said, you can joke now, right? No. I'm serious. If one day I grow old, will you still like me? Women always like to ask naive questions. Of course, I like you no matter what you become. Su Tianqian suddenly thought of something and asked, by the way, Xiao Su, do you feel any changes in yourself after that day? That day? What day? I asked with some confusion. Su Tianqian blushed and said, it was the camping day. I was slightly startled, the change, what changes have happened to me? I felt my body carefully and suddenly found that the breath in my body was much purer. I talked about this change in my body. Su Tianqian nodded after hearing this and did not continue. I asked, Tianqian, why do you ask that? Su Tianqian glanced at me and said, you will know in the future. I tried to pester Su Tianqian to tell me the answer, but she refused to tell me at all and finally ignored me. Su Tianqian is still the same Su Tianqian. As long as she doesn't want to say anything, I will try my best to keep her from saying it. Soon, night falls. The village chief hurriedly knocked on the door and shouted, Master Tianqian, Tishan is here to pick you up. Hearing this, Su Tianqian and I walked out of the room. The village chief led us to the entrance of the village. There were several figures standing at the entrance of the village in the night, and there was a sedan next to the figures. The village chief led us forward. When we got closer, we saw that these figures were all men, and each of them was extremely handsome. One of them is particularly eye-catching. He has a sharp face and cold eyes like stars. The man came to me and Su Tianqian, and he shouted respectfully to Su Tianqian, "Tishan Yungxiao has met Master Tianqian." Su Tianqian nodded lightly and said, "Let's go." Tishan Yungxiao nodded in agreement, then opened the curtain of the sedan and made a gesture of invitation. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanba. Chapter 1558. Su Tianqian and I entered the sedan, and then the remaining fox demons except Tishan Yungxiao carried the sedan toward the forest. On the way to Tishan, I asked Su Tianqian, that Tishan Yungxiao gave me a strong feeling. Is he the prince of Tishan? Su Tianqian shook his head and replied, he is not, he is just a general of Tishan, but his status in Tishan is no less than that of the prince. General. No less than a prince? Su Tianqian continued to explain, in ancient feudal society, there was a national protector god, a general, and his status in Tishan was equivalent to this. I was slightly surprised. The fox demon who could become Tishan's guardian of the country was certainly not weak in strength. I looked outside through the wooden window of the sedan. The cool moonlight pours down through the woods on both sides of the sedan. The shadows of the trees on the ground are dancing, the air is filled with a fresh smell, and the sound of insects can be heard from time to time. Everything seems so peaceful and quiet. Su Tianqian nestled in my arms and closed her eyes to rest. I sighed slightly in my heart, and then closed my eyes. I don't know how long it took, but I suddenly woke up, opened my eyes and looked outside. The scenery outside has changed. The woods have disappeared without a trace, replaced by splendid buildings one after another. The majestic building is clean and elegant, with light blue glazed tile roofs, white jade railings, and carefully crafted bluestone bases, set against goose yellow walls, making it look elegant, dignified, bright, and beautiful. Is this Tishan? No one could have imagined that there would be such a magnificent city among the mountains. The view in front of me gave me the feeling of entering the Forbidden City. Tishan has been inherited for thousands of years, and even Dea wanted to marry it. It is a veritable royal family among demons. Tishan is so grand and is also being cleaned up. The sedan slowly moved forward and finally stopped in front of a palace. Tishan Yungxiao opened the curtain of the sedan and said to me and Su Tianqian, "Here we are, my majesty will be waiting for you for a long time." Su Tianqian and I stepped down from the sedan chair and entered the palace under the leadership of Tishan Yungxiao. The architectural style of the palace is also magnificent. Various flowers are planted in the courtyard. Against the background of the night, they are so beautiful that they are not ordinary, as if they are in a fairyland. Tishan Yungxiao took Su Tianqian and me to a hall. There is a screen in front of the main room, with exquisite landscape paintings carved on the screen. Warm red candles are lit behind the screen, making the whole room extremely warm. "Your Majesty, Master Tianqian has arrived," Tu Shanyun said loudly. As soon as I finished speaking, there was the sound of footsteps in the air, and then I saw two figures appearing behind the screen. Judging from the shadows of the two people, one of them is Empress Tishan and the other is a servant. The slender figure of Empress Tishan is projected on the screen. Before even looking at her face, it gives me a feeling of reality and fantasy. "Master Tianqian, long time no see." Empress Tishan did it under the service of her maid. Her voice was extremely cold, even worse than the Su Tianqian I first met. Su Tianqian looked at the figure of Empress Tishan and said calmly, "Indeed, long time no see." The corner of my mouth twitched slightly. Before coming to Tishan, Su Tianqian told me that Empress Tishan was easy to get along with a simple personality and playful behavior. But now that I have met her, I just feel that she has a cold personality and is difficult to get along with. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Ching Nian Wanba. Chapter 1559. After a moment of silence, Empress Tishan spoke again and said, "You all should step aside. I have something to say to Master Tianxian." Tishan Yongxiao knelt down on one knee towards Empress Tishan and said respectfully, "That subordinate has resigned." After saying that, Tishan Yongxiao turned and left, and the maid behind the screen also bowed to Empress Tishan and left. When the two demons left, the Empress behind the screen moved. She came to the screen, then bent down and stuck her head out. An extremely beautiful face came into my eyes. I have never seen a woman in this world whose appearance can compare with Su Tianxian. But the appearance of the Tishan Empress in front of her was not inferior to that of Su Tianxian, and she was very charming and enchanting, with a hint of playfulness between her eyebrows. "Master Tianxian!" Empress Tishan shouted to Su Tianxian in a soft voice. The corners of Su Tianxian's mouth turned up into a faint smile. "Your Majesty, I haven't seen you for such a long time, but you are still the same as before." Empress Tishan stuck out her tongue and suddenly noticed my presence. She was stunned for a moment, then her pretty face turned cold, and she stood up straight, a cold look creeping onto her brows. I couldn't help but laugh when I saw Empress Tishan like this. It seems that this Empress Tishan looks cold on the outside, but her heart is as innocent as a child. It's no wonder that I, an outsider, am actually putting on airs. "Human, how dare you laugh at me?" Empress Tishan scolded sternly, and an extremely powerful pressure spread towards me. This pressure is very strong, but I can still handle it. Su Tianxian shook his head helplessly and said, "Your Majesty, he is my man." As soon as these words came out, Empress Tishan froze on the spot and looked at Su Tianxian in disbelief with her beautiful eyes wide open. This. Empress Tishan quickly came to Su Tianxian, stammering a bit when she spoke. "Master Tianxian, you have moved your heart." Su Tianxian smiled and said, "Your Majesty, I am not a fairy above the 9 heavens. Isn't it normal to be moved by mortal hearts?" Empress Tishan was stunned, turned around, looked me up and down, hostility flashed in her eyes, and she snorted softly. "This man looks ordinary. I really don't know what makes you like him, Master Tianxian." I finally figured out that the relationship between Empress Tishan and Su Tianxian was very good, otherwise she wouldn't be so hostile to me. "Your Majesty, it's difficult to explain feelings clearly." Empress Tishan waved her hands repeatedly and said, "Master Tianxian, don't call me Your Majesty, just call me Wushang." Su Tianxian glanced at me, and then shouted to Empress Tishan, "Wushang." Tishan Wushang, with a smile as bright as a flower, pulled Su Tianxian behind the barrier and sat down. I saw there was an empty seat and just about to sit down, I heard Tishan Wushang's sweet voice scolding, "Don't do it." I stiffened and looked at Tishan Wushang. I saw Tishan Wushang giving me a fierce look. Helpless, I could only stand. Su Tianxian covered her mouth and snickered. She took Tishan Wushang's hand and said, "Okay, Wushang, don't be so hostile to him. Once you get in touch with him, you will know how good he is." Tishan Wushang rolled her eyes and said, "I don't. My sister told me that the men under the mountain are perverts. I can't believe them or have any contact with them." Tishan Wushang's character is indeed very interesting, cute, and arrogant, but she is like a little sister in front of Su Tianxian. Sky Coffin. Author, Ching Nian Wanba. Chapter 1560. Su Tianxian smiled slightly, and the two of them began to reminisce about the past, leaving me alone. "Wushang, how is your health?" Tishan Wushang patted her chest and said, "I'm fine." I can eat, drink and sleep. Su Tianqian shook his head slightly and replied, Wu Shang, I am referring to the demon power in your body. Your enthronement ceremony failed, you did not receive the real baptism, and you are unable to master the power of Tishan's modern empress. What impact will your body have? After hearing this, Tishan Wushang was slightly startled, and then said with a smile, Oh, Master Tianqian, I'm fine. It's just that the demon power in my body often gets out of control, and then I become another person. I don't want to become that. It looks like this, but the empresses of Tishan in the past generations would give up their feelings to protect Tishan, and I think I will do the same in the future. Su Tianqian looked at Tishan Wushang and sighed slightly, and said, Do you know that if you don't accept the true baptism, you will die? Tishan Wushang showed an open-minded smile on her face and said, Death is not that terrible to me. I have been imprisoned in this high wall for thousands of years and have never seen the outside world. This kind of life is more uncomfortable than death, and maybe even death can help me escape. Su Tianqian looked at Tishan Wushang with distressed eyes and reached out his hand to gently touch Tishan Wushang's cheek. By the way, Master Tianqian, what is the outside world like? Can you tell me? Although my sister talks to me every day, I don't understand some of what she talks about, and I don't understand either. Su Tianqian was slightly stunned and asked, What did your sister tell you? Tishan Wushang thought for a while and replied, She told me that the men at the foot of the mountain are beasts. They know how to play with anything, such as whips, candles, and that thing called stockings. The corner of my mouth twitched slightly when I heard this. This sister of Tishan Wushang is really good at cleaning up some messy things. Su Tianqian also looked embarrassed and said, Wu Shang, the world outside is very exciting and I can't finish it in a few words. If you have the chance, you can go out and take a look for yourself. Tishan Wushang looked disappointed. As the Empress of Tishan, she is responsible for the rise and fall of the entire Tishan. She is like an emperor in the world, with rights and the highest status, but has lost her freedom. As she said, she is like a caged bird imprisoned in this high wall. All she can do every day is look up. Blue sky. At this time, I suddenly thought about Qin Fenglin's grandson. Qin Fenglin's grandson will definitely be extraordinary after he is born, but he has a bad fate. He may die at birth. If he wants to survive, he must find 5 peach blossoms. Tishan Wushang is one of them, but I need to know her birth date before I can continue to calculate. However, it was inappropriate to talk about the engagement right after they met. It was too abrupt. Tishan Wushang and Su Tianqian continued to chat aside. The two of them chatted a lot, and most of the chat was about the outside world. From this point of view, Tishan Wushang really yearns for the outside world. Immediately afterwards, Tishan Wushang asked Su Tianqian why he was with me and what he liked about me. Su Tianqian glanced at me with a blushing face and said hesitantly, This matter is a long story, otherwise I'd better not talk about it. Tishan Wushang took Su Tianxuan's jade arm and coquettishly said, Master Tianqian, tell me, no one has spoken to me since you last left.